Who's the Lakers X factor in 2020? Is it Howard? Green? What about Kuzma? Listen, we know what LeBron James is going to bring in the playoffs, and we know that Anthony Davis will be his dominant self. But who's going to be the X factor? Who will be that guy that can swing a series? The definition of an X factor is a variable in a given situation that can have the most significant impact on the outcome. So which Laker? Which Laker outside of LeBron and Davis will be that variable? The guy that will have the most significant impact? Who will be the Fred VanVleet for the Lakers in this year's playoffs? If the Lakers do go on to win the title, who outside of that dynamic duo will we look at as Laker fans look at Ron Artest from that 2010 NBA title squad, a guy that can make big plays in timely situations? Well, in this journey, I'm going to identify the 5 guys that I think that best fit the role for being the Lakers X Factor. These are the guys that I think have the highest potential of making a significant impact. Now make sure you stick around to the end of the video as I'll reveal my number 1 guy and who I think will be the Lakers X Factor in their quest to win the 17th title. Let's get it.
Are you ready?
Welcome back to Journey of a Ballaholic, the best talk show for basketball addicts. I'm your host, General Hannibal X. Now if you're new, on this channel you're going to be getting my passionate and in-depth analysis on the hottest NBA and college basketball topics. Listen, I'm a ballaholic, absolutely addicted to basketball. And like everybody, I've got an opinion. But if you like opinions that are backed by facts, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, but also be sure to tap that bell notification so that you'll be updated whenever I drop new videos, which is every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, before we start the video, I want to say thank you to everyone who's given donations to support the channel. Your support truly means a lot to me. Now let's go ahead and kick off this video, but first I gotta go over my honorable mention list. Then we'll jump into my top 5 X Factors for the Lakers. These are the guys that I think are gonna have opportunities to contribute, and some of them can even make key plays in clutch moments to help the Lakers win games. You got a scorer like Dion Waiters, a guy who's brought in to be a playmaker off the bench who can really score with just about the best of them and get his shot at any time he's on the court. I just don't think he's gonna see enough significant minutes to be able to be the X Factor for the Lakers. You got a guy like J.R. Smith, who's LeBron's guy. Now, I expect him to have some moments where he hits a dagger 3 or even makes a clutch basket in a key game, but just like Dion Waiters, I don't think he's going to see enough minutes to be the X Factor for the Lakers. Then you have Rondo. Now, he's gotten injured, and unfortunately, he's got out for about 6 to 8 weeks, and he would have been much higher on this list had he not been injured. But playoff Rondo's a real thing. Across the board, points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, they all go up from the regular season to the playoffs. I just don't know how this setback is going to impact him. Now, next up, we got Markieff Morris. I think defensively, he's going to be a key guy, guarding either one of the 4 spots, but I also don't think he's going to see enough minutes being that guy because, listen, you got somebody like Anthony Davis who's at the starting position. He's going to play a lot of minutes. So, now, lastly, we got JaVale McGee. Now, JaVale McGee does start, unlike these other guys, but he only averages less than 17 minutes, and he is giving you a block and a half in that 17 minutes. So I expect him to be key when it comes to rim protection, but because of his asthma, I just don't think he's going to play a lot of minutes, especially in the playoff time. Now, a guy that's not shown is Avery Bradley. Now, as we know, he decided to opt out, but coming in at number 5 is going to be his replacement in the starting lineup, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Now, KCP is definitely not the defender that Avery Bradley is, so on that side of the court, he's a downgrade for the Lakers, but where he makes up for that is on the offensive end. Now, Bradley was shooting a career average 36.4% from the deep this year. However, KCP, he's having a career shooting season from deep at 39.4%. Now, of all the Lakers that have taken 1 or more threes per game this season, KCP has the highest shooting percentage on the team. His outside shot is going to be crucial to floor spacing when it comes to LeBron James and Anthony Davis and the attention that they get. Now, coming in at number 4 is the other 3-and-D wing player in the Lakers starting lineup. That's going to be Danny Green. Now, the last 2 playoffs for Danny Green have been extremely disappointing from a shooting perspective. But I think that being on a team with LeBron James, a guy who loves to find open shooters, that's going to truly help Danny Green find a stroke this year. But Green's biggest contribution is going to need to be on the defensive end. But something tells me, though, that Danny Green's best impact, as far as from the playoff standards, those years are gone. And that brings me to number 3, the new face in the playoffs, Alex Caruso. Now, due to the injury to Rajon Rondo, Caruso is going to see much more minutes in the first round. Unlike Bradley, KCP, and Danny Green, Caruso is actually more of a natural point guard. Now, it's going to be crucial for the Lakers' success that Alex Caruso plays well, because when LeBron James is off the court, that's when the Lakers tend to fall off. Now, the backup point guard spot is only going to need to realistically play about 8 to 10 minutes a game during the playoffs. But those are going to be some of the most crucial minutes that the Lakers will have. Keep in mind, the Lakers have a negative 3.7 plus minus when LeBron leaves the game. Now, Caruso's ability to run the ship while LeBron is resting, that could turn a game from the Lakers leading to extending the lead, or from the Lakers having the lead to being down when LeBron has to return into the game. Now, we've also got to consider this, that LeBron James and Alex Caruso, when they're on the court together, they have the best plus minus of any two-man duo in the entire NBA. That means that Caruso will definitely have an opportunity to be a major X factor for the Lakers. However, Caruso doesn't crack the top two. These last two guys, I think outside of LeBron James' greatness and Anthony Davis' two-way dominance, I think these two are going to be major factors for the Lakers to win the title. Now, coming in at number 2, I gotta go with Superman, Dwight Howard. Man, let me tell you, when there was a question of whether Howard was gonna join the team or sit out, I was truly concerned. Dwight isn't what he once was, but what he still is an athletic freak, something that's just insane. Listen, of all the players who played at least 40 games coming off the bench this season, Dwight Howard ranks number 2 in field goal percentage at 73.2%. That just shows that he's still an elite finisher around the rim and a big-time lob threat for LeBron James. He also ranks number 3 in rebounds per game off the bench at 7.4, which is incredible when you consider he plays less than 20 minutes per game. Then you add in the fact that he ranks number 5 in blocks per game at 1.2. Man, on the low, I think he should be a top 5 6-man of the year candidate. He's been absolutely phenomenal in his role. But the biggest thing that Dwight does, the most important thing that he does, is he allows Anthony Davis to play more time at the 4 position. This year is the first year since 2017 that Anthony Davis has played majority of his time at power forward. The Lakers' size, that's one of the key advantages that they have. And having Dwight Howard is a major X factor of keeping that twin tower double 7-footer look out there. But as important as I think Howard is, he's not the number 1 X factor for the Lakers. That title belongs to Kyle Kuzma. Listen, man, this young guy here, he has a truly special talent. It took him a while to find his footing this season due to an injury that he suffered during the summer, and then also having a new role as the third option, also having less minutes per game, and then also playing off the bench behind a superstar like Anthony Davis. But keep in mind, Kuzma's still only 24 years old, and statistically, he is having one of his worst seasons. But don't let that fool you. This is the same guy that just last year dropped 41 points in just 3 quarters, playing less than 30 minutes. Man, he's got the ultimate green light. Now, sometimes that's kind of frustrating for Lakers fans, and I get that. But remember on Christmas Day, in that marquee matchup against the Clippers on prime time, it was Kyle Kuzma who went out there and put up 15 points in the first quarter in just 5 minutes off the bench. Man, that kind of scoring power could be a game changer in a playoff series. He's the Lakers' 3rd leading scorer, averaging 12.5 points a game. When you have a dynamic duo like LeBron and Davis, you don't need a third guy who scores 20 points consistently night in and night out. You need a guy that's going to give you a one hot game every now and then, who can give you 20 here, 25 there. But maybe the next game he only scores 8 points, but he hits a clutch 3 at the buzzer. Or he gives you 10 rebounds and 2 blocks like he did against the Clippers in the last game that they played in March. Then when the playoffs come, maybe the next game he goes off for 18 points in one half. Then follows that out with the game where he scores 9 consecutive points in the 4th quarter while LeBron is resting. Kuzma's that guy. Now, Frank Vogel, he recently hinted at using Kuzma as more of a ball handler off the bench, especially with Rondo going to be out. So we could actually see more of him and Dwight Howard in that pick and roll action, which is going to be tough to stop, especially if you have shooters like J.R. Smith, Deion Waiters, and Markieff Morris surrounding him. Kuzma's a rhythm scorer, so he's kind of one of those guys that kind of needs to build up his momentum. He kind of needs to get in his groove. He plays well off the ball when a guy like LeBron James can kind of set him up for those catch and shoot opportunities, but putting the ball in his hand and just letting him have the space to work, that's what truly suits his game as well. If the Lakers are going to win the championship, I'm going with Kyle Kuzma to be the number 1 X factor. Now, understand that LeBron James has to play well. Anthony Davis has to play well for the Lakers to win the championship. That's a given. So that's why these guys aren't considered X factors. They are standards. They have to be the great players that they are in order for the Lakers to have any success. But the X factor is that guy who's that variable. He's that true X factor who could just come out of nowhere and change a game, change a series. And I think, especially in today's game, where it's more offensive related, as far as not being as much of a defensive game as it has been in years past, especially going back to like the 90s, I think that's where an offensive player like a Kyle Kuzma can be so big for the Lakers. So what do you think? Do you think Kyle Kuzma is the Lakers' biggest X factor? If not Kyle Kuzma, who would you pick? Listen, go down to the comment section below and let me know who do you think is going to be the Lakers' biggest X factor in 2020 if they're going to win the championship. Listen, if you missed my previous video where I broke down why the Lakers will win the championship, go ahead and click the box up top. If you missed my playlist where I broke down the top 5 title contenders and why each one of them could win the championship, go ahead and click this box right here on the bottom. Listen, I appreciate you for taking a look at this video. If you're out in the streets, make sure you stay safe. And remember, no justice, no peace.